Bad looking areas though. Yeah, everything started with that states. Yeah. I don't know. Well, it's like I moved away. Yeah. I used to do that. Sure.
Are you from?
Yeah.
In Bristol?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty sure. I know all my friends.
Here's a copy of the engineer's report. It's gonna be considered, so you have it.
Okay.
It's good.
Well, ready? Yeah, I was gonna say, we have to get the clock in this room fixed, otherwise.
Yeah, I know. Official atomic clock. Yep, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Plan Commission for the Village of Land into order for Thursday, September 26th at 6:30 p.m. Please remember to silence your phones if you haven't already done so. Rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Grimm,
Here,
Lake, absent. Lavold,
Here.
Newman,
Here.
Janice,
Here,
Hayleitner, and Yates is present. Item 4, statement of public notice.
Has been posted.
Thank you. Item 5, discussion and possible approval of plan commission meetings from 7/25/24.
there's one thing I'd like to correct, according to the reviewing the minutes, reviewing the video and all that online in under citizen comments under Mike Grimm, in the line that says favor service, it should be saying permit from the village board. So remove favor service and add the word permit.
Yeah, Mike. Any other comments or corrections for the record?
Yes.
Hector?
In paragraph 6, the second from the last line, beginning with ability. The sentence reads, most communities do not have the time or ability, and it drops off. And I would recommend adding, since these were my comments, adding to enforce the perpetuation of previously approved landscape plans. Mr. Grimm made comments about what I would call the disappearance of landscape features over time. And there is ambiguity in a lot of development agreements as to the obligation as the property is transferred from one owner to another.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I make a motion to approve items 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with the corrections on the Plan Commission meeting from 7/25/2024.
Second. We have a motion and a second. To approve a limited number of items on the minutes.
5 through 9.
In a second, any other discussion? I guess I would just ask, let's see, we did do it was a joint.
Oh, yeah, we adjourned at number 9.
Okay. So we have a motion, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brenda, if you want to just make a note, we still need to get the other.
Yep.
Portion of this approved at the village board meeting.
Yep.
Item number 6, discussion and possible approval of plan commission meetings from 8/29/24. More recent, less voluminous.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from commission meeting on 8/29/24.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from 8/29/24. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Citizen comments. Do you have any citizen comments this evening?
On citizen.
All right, item number 8, discussion of possible approval of the plan of operation for Frankel Industries, 7482 Circle Drive, Land, Wisconsin, 53046. So we do have a plan of operation here. Mr. Wood has some comments regarding that. Do you want to run through your comments? Ben?
I'd be happy to start. I want to say, I believe Dale is here. Dale and I spoke earlier this afternoon and then kind of let him know, the summary of my comments and, for everyone else's sake, for what was in the packet that was reviewed. The site plan included a lot of information that we don't normally get, but have to kind of draw out of applicants, such as the topography, the certified survey map, the building plans, etc. So Dale did a great job of getting that stuff together, but lacks kind of the operational site plan that would show how they actually intend to use the site, calling out the location of the landscaping, etc. In talking through that with Dale, and I'll give him a chance to speak here eventually. He intended to prepare a markup of that could get us toward what we want to see for the rest of the site plan information. But they intend that most of the operation is within the building. There'll be a couple of trailers stored on site, plus employee parking. Updating that for the site plan was one of my bigger comments. The second one is only, I would say, about a third of the parking lot currently is paved. And building ordinance requires that the entire parking and loading area be paved. That's something that should be discussed here. And then my other comment was related to the sign application, which is the next item. So I noticed, I'll give you that to you.
You mentioned the screening, but the screening is gonna be important for the storage. Fence and screening.
Sure, depending on what
Yeah,
the storage might
the
actually.
storage outside would be utility trailers
Yeah,
that we park on the back end of the property, backing into the back end of the property.
and it needs to be screened from the street. So it's normally some type of fence or shrubbery is great, because that's year round.
Well, the building itself would block it, would that from the street?
Not completely,
No,
no. Just when you come around the curve, you look in that whole backyard,
okay, okay,
so.
and also screened in dumpster.
Oh, yeah.
We actually have that,
Dumpster for sure screen.
if it's like, that's not Bill, I didn't give you another site plan for you, I'll give it to you or.
Yeah, feel free to. Sure, okay, thank you. How many copies of this do you have? Great. Thank you. So, I'll just pass it on down. Okay, sure. Excited, take a look.
On this plan deal, the employee parking. Where is that gonna be?
That would be on we're thinking on the east side of the building, or we know we're gonna have to put some type of pavement back here for them to park.
Goes back around where the trailers are?
Yes.
Are you gonna utilize all of that parking area that?
No, I mean, where construction comes to a lot, most of the time our employees are out in the job and drive.
Okay, so, I mean, whatever you don't pave, you're gonna reseed and put grass in and dirt? Do you own the property?
No, we're in the process of purchasing it.
You're
Yes.
process of purchasing, okay.
Yes, yeah, we're now renting a building in Sussex, then we're coming out of.
But I mean, if you were to purchase this, and instead of paving that spur that goes all the way to the south,
Oh, yeah.
would you cut that off and then seed and grass that area?
We didn't have any plans as far as that yet, because we didn't think that far ahead.
Okay, because you know,
Right.
because obviously it's October, okay, and I'm pretty much guaranteed probably all the asphalt plants are booked for the rest of
Right.
it, you know. So this would be something that you would have to be really looking at a spring.
In the springtime to.
So- I guess what we would look and be, what I would be looking for is asking is for a drawing showing the parking lot paving,
Okay,
okay?
and you want where all the stalls would be too as well, and
So what,
where all the parking stalls would be.
where
too?
all the stalls are, right?
Okay.
Cause that way we know where, you know, and how your screening is worked into it then.
Okay. And then that stuff that's not being used, you want to see it over? That's
If
probably-
if you don't, if you don't leave it as gravel,
Okay,
okay, gravel is not, you know, because you're buying, you basically, you know, the plan commission give you the, so, you know, next, you know, year or sometime,
right,
you know. So,
yeah, we have no problem with that, we just, right now, to purchase this and closing, they needed a use permit, this first time doing it. And didn't realize it was to this degree of what you had to do. But obviously, we've been in business for a long time, we're here to follow whatever kind of permits we need to do whatever we have to do.
because the only other thing I think that the plan commission like to see is interior floor plan.
Okay,
If you could just, you know,
drop a,
draw, you know. It don't have to be, you know, done with an engineering or anything like that, you know, you can just measure it out and
right,
lay it out. So we know where the restrooms are and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera.
okay.
And office area and. you
I
know,
believe there's all,
storage
in
or whatever.
a, I don't know if I sent that along, there was a plan, actually did have. The office space already, that's established there already with the bathroom. We plan to utilize that office space.
So what's, so what's the, you know, it says the rest of the building is gravel based,
Outside the building, inside is all concrete.
see, in concrete floor, okay. So just that little corner in the
Correct, yeah.
northwest corner,
Yeah, it's about 12 by 20.
that's the office space only?
Yeah,
The rest of it is
that's-
just shop?
The
then?
rest of you shop.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's. Yeah, this drawing here would suffice, really.
yeah, okay, yeah, now I see it, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Ben shrinks it down so we can't see it.
And then I guess. Now that you've seen this and kind of where they plan on keeping the trailers, what's the feeling on screening?
Well, when you come around the curve, so if they would do something out on the stone that we were just talking about.
Then that would have to be
screened, yeah.
But it seems like behind the building.
No, it's what you can see from the street is our requirements.
So, and you've indicated on here that you are not renting the space, but you are, and you're in the process of purchasing it?
We're not renting the space now, we're in the process of purchasing. We rent a space now in Sussex. So. It's my business and my partner's business, Brian Brown.
Yep.
And me and Brian are gonna buy the building together and then rent it back to the business.
Sure.
Yep.
When do you anticipate a closing?
Closing was October 23rd was set up for.
Okay.
Are these plans and the stuff that I need to do, is that something I need to do and then come back for next month's meeting to get approval of, or how? Because we need the approval of the use before they close, obviously.
Well, it's a legal use.
Yeah, I think, you know, in some cases, we're able to grant a conditional approval. Right. As long as we have, you know, the substantial amount of information that's required and.
The correct zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think we can help you along.
I glossed over that, but as Jerry touched on, it is a permitted use, it is zoned light industrial, et cetera. I think after talking to Dale this afternoon and then seeing this revised submittal and understanding. Truthfully, how the site's. Not being used for outdoor storage per se, but more parking and parking of trailers behind the building. I feel comfortable with this. There's a couple things we would want added to the site plan, just kind of calling out the existing landscaping, the lighting, whatever. I think the biggest question mark would be extensive paving.
So, so there's no hazardous materials?
No.
Okay, so then your business hours are 7 to 4. Are you sure 7 to 4, how about 6 in the morning to 6 at night or something like that? You come in early before 7 and you know.
I mean, we're in construction, I mean, our office people that are at our building majority of the time are 7 or 8, actually 8 before. Our crews meet there at 7.
So they get there, they start getting there by, they have to leave by 7 and they get there at 7.
They get there at 7, and we had,
What,
you know, that.
so what we want to do is we always add, add each end, to get, guy might get there an hour early, half hour early.
I wish I could get there half hour.
Me too.
Yeah, I wish I could hear it, say an hour later too.
Yes.
But I
10 minutes later.
I would say, I mean. If we do come back, sometimes we do out of town work. Or we would come back from driving from out of town, we might be pulling in at 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night to unload. I mean, those are rare occasions, but those do happen throughout the year.
Well, and part of this is for the police department.
Okay.
So, you
Yeah.
know, why is somebody around there at 8 o'clock at night when they're not
Right.
supposed to be? So that's why we like the hours of when you're gonna be there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna hold you to it or anything like that,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
would say 80% of the time it's between 6 and 4.
Yeah.
And then the other times it might extend out depending on where we're at that time. We're 3 hours from home and they're coming back at 6, 7 o'clock at night to drop off the trailer.
Right.
Yeah, but you won't be occupying the building or anything like
No,
that, so
no.
you're just hardware in.
Yes, sir.
A follow-up to Mr. Grimm's inquiry. I noticed that you indicate that the use and occupancy, the type of business includes fire protection contractors.
Yeah, we're,
Oh.
right.
Are you gonna have any PFAS related chemicals on the premises?
No. No, we actually install fireproofing, a cementitious fireproofing to steel.
Okay,
So it's a Portland based product that you mix in a mortar mixture and spray out.
okay.
In the good old days, it was asbestos.
So what, set out things we gotta drop it in.
Thank you.
Ben, do you have any problem with the surface water drainage?
I made a comment that all the drainage, the topography slopes to the east toward the Lemke quarry there. And my only comment was if there's ever a change to downspouts or any. You know, if you do an addition or second building here or anything like that, that'll all have to get reviewed again.
Paving. Or paving.
I think the paving is okay because technically, DNR considers gravel to be an impervious surface.
Okay, so no.
Already, so there's no change.
Yeah.
that
What,
way.
what happens if they pave it with blacktop?
Just, it's okay.
It's counted the same, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the trick is just if they would ever do something that would. You can't intentionally direct drainage towards your neighbor's property. It's already just following the natural topography, which is toward the quarry. If there were any substantial change to that, we would just need to review it again as part of the building permit process or whatever.
That's one of our outfalls also. It goes to the quarry.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So,
You don't have, no waste hauling company, you're not sure who you're gonna.
Well, I did
contract
update that
with?
too. We do have waste management that we use now.
Okay.
Another question. This was the former Gabor plumbing. Is the property connected to municipal water?
Yes.
Yes,
It is. And is there a well on the premises?
I was told there's also a well, also there's a spigot inside for a well and there's a spigot for municipal.
Okay. Has that well been qualified under the village ordinances?
I would not know that.
Yeah.
No.
I mentioned that because there were some issues with regards to the previous business that was there.
Okay,
And you should contact the clerk to get a copy of the ordinance with regard to the retention of the well.
okay,
You can get a well operation permit from the village or abandon the well.
okay,
Those are the two options, but.
I will say, I'll add per building code. The well can only be kept for outdoor use.
Yes.
Yes.
And you can't have any of the well water on as part of the interior plumbing.
and I believe that's what they have set up now, they have it. To right up by the outside for outside use.
Okay,
It's not
sure.
protection, you know.
So something to consider. To go through the purchase, abandoning the well is, well, a couple of years ago, it was around $2,000 or so. Permit is much cheaper.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Do you want to do a conditional? I don't see any big problems here.
It seems like we could do that so they can move forward with our closing. Can we assume that they'll accept a conditional approval,
Yes,
as long as you can show them the minutes and. Anybody want
Well,
Give it to Mike.
I'm writing on it, I'm writing it right now.
I was gonna say Mike is. Oh, yeah, on this.
to message on hold music briefly?
Maybe Ben can tell us how his run was, how fast he ran.
Well, I was chasing a runner.
Soccer.
I'm guessing Mike's words.
Make a motion to approve a plan of operation conditionally for Planton Industries,
That record.
provided that they pave the parking lot by June 30th, 2025. Show screening of the parking area where the trailers are. And if the well is going to be used or abandoned.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second, any other discussion?
With the duration of a conditional use permit and the deadline date for the paving, excuse me, the screening.
Well, he only
June
needs it,
June 30th, 2025.
yeah, and he only needs it if he stores in the open area. If he
Right.
stores behind the building, he's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
As long as you can't see anything
from the street.
from the street when you come around.
Well, he's got the dumpster, so we're screening the dumpster's right on the edge of the building.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what we're talking about.
well, I understand that, yeah.
Reason why I say about the landscaping, because you won't know how much of the parking lot he's gonna utilize till he actually has it paved by June 30th, and that, by that time, there'll be a plan, in place.
Yeah.
That works.
So just when you do get all that stuff nailed down, just make sure Ben and Brenda have those details and plans.
okay, so there's plans and that to them and.
Yeah, when you, assuming you close and. Might be several months, but,
Okay.
okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries to conditionally approve.
Welcome to Lennon.
Yeah.
Been here all my life.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Maybe your baseball team will be good.
Yeah,
Yeah. We need to go again. Fix the light.
All right, item 9, discussion of possible approval of sign permit application for Franel Industries, 7482 Circle Drive, Atlanta, Wisconsin, 53046. I think Ben already talked to you about. This is not gonna be sufficient.
One is colored.
Huh?
One is colored.
Yeah, we need a scale drawing, measurements, all that kind of stuff. Did we have that discussion with anybody yet? No.
Well, I mean, I came up, we're looking at block letters on the west side, block lettering, stuff like that. Almost where the board writing is now.
Yeah.
We have 12 to 18-inch block lettering. Kenny over at, Portable Signs, I contacted you, been playing phone tag, I'm trying to get a hold of him to kind of, I never did, see if he drop a diagram or something to fit that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be kind of in that same realm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna recommend we table this until you can come back with more specifics.
Okay.
Yeah, this is.
Take pictures existing, have Kenny overlay onto it, you know, what you have Kenny draw out all
Okay.
the dimensions and. You know, so that we, and the colors and all that, so we can actually see,
Okay.
that's no.
And I can drop that off at any time.
Sure.
Okay.
And then we'll just, and Brenda will get you on the next one, when she has it, she'll get it scheduled in for plan commission.
Okay.
Make a motion to table.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to table. Just make sure when he does that, that he's got all the letter heights, materials, thicknesses, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Color, I could be a stickler.
Are you gonna have any illumination for the signs?
Not at this time, we don't plan on it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion, questions, comments? All in favor to table?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to table. Item number 10, discussion only regarding a conceptual plan review for a senior living complex on tax key LANV 0032495 located at approximately 19099 West Main Street, Atlanta, Wisconsin, 53046. Ben, you want to start us out here? Give us the
I can
background.
set the table for this, so this is the Gross property just north of Custer Lane, the east side of Main Street there. And I want to give, I just want to say this probably could have been teed up to go last month, but I let it slip through the cracks, so my apologies to you folks for that, but they did a great job of staying on top of it. And bringing forth this proposal for elderly living facility. Understand the definition of that can range from age restricted apartments up to nursing homes, I think, so we'll hear some more about that from them here as well. But they provided kind of a concept site plan. I assume the rest of what's in the packet that has point real estate labeling on it was part of the realtor's kind of marketing package more than anything.
Right.
Yeah, it's not the concept. plan
Right,
that
right.
they're proposing.
Right, correct. I want to point out that property is currently zoned for agriculture, but the 2017 comprehensive land use plan identifies it as planned neighborhood. For those who were around at the time, planned neighborhood sets kind of a balance or a ratio of various uses, so the intended is to be mixed residential plus maybe a little bit of commercial, a little bit of institutional. So for that whole end of town, Rock Point Village Apartments have kind of sucked up the allocation of apartments for that whole end, and there's still room or provision for elderly housing. Now, within the village ordinances, there's a few options for, depending on the discussion tonight, of what the property could be rezoned to. Institutional districts allows for elderly housing as a conditional use. Multifamily residence districts allows for certain provisions where elderly housing can also be a conditional use. Ultimately, depending on the specifics, because it's this parcel is kind of already found, there's no opportunity for expansion in any direction, and there is some prime environmental corridor on the parcel also. Some wetlands and the ATC power company corridor on the east border there. This also could very well be suitable for a planned unit development that would allow potentially some flexibility in the application of the zoning, whether that be related to density or anything else. So that's something that we could talk about moving forward. This property is also in a TIF district, and I know that finances are more up to the board than it is to the plan commission. It's been historically contemplated that when this property develops, that the village would either ask the developer to extend water and sewer to this parcel, and the village would reimburse that with TIF funds, or the village would do it and use TIF funds to pay for it, etc. That plan was kind of conceived a couple of years ago and probably is worth revisiting. But just so everyone knows, this is in the TIF district also. So with that, those are, other than to say, all of these, whether it's a PUD or any of these other arrangements, it starts with a conceptual plan review. This is a non-action item. It's an opportunity to kind of have more of an open discussion with the applicant here, and for you all to get some feedback from the plan commission. And then the next steps from this would be probably formally a rezone application, which would start off the creation of, if you decide to move forward, more engineering plans, developer agreement, etc., that would go through staff review and then ultimately come back. Plan commission, public hearings, village board, etc.
One quick question, how far did they go with the water on that road?
It's I'm gonna guess about 100 feet north of Custer.
The sewer also?
Yeah, I think the intention was, it was stubbed out far enough because part of the Custer Lane road reconstruction improvements and utility improvements, we had to add a extra bypass lane or whatever. It was stubbed out far enough to the north that you wouldn't have to tear up any pavement when someone took off at that point again. So I forget the name of the farm that's there, that country farm.
Schmidt Farm.
The Schmidt farm. It stops like just right at their property line.
On the south side or north side?
South side.
South side. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Did you say the sewer is also approximately 100 feet?
It's about 100 feet north of Custer Lane intersection.
Actually,
So it's got, and I've kind of shared with the applicant here, just the concept layout of how far the water and sewer would have to go, and it would have to go, at least to their north property.
All right, is that it, Ben?
That is.
Well, I'm sure you gentlemen are anxious to share this, so let's hear
Oh,
from you.
Extremely anxious. Good evening. Thank you for entertaining us. My name is David Glazer. I'm the real estate arm of this project. I'm here with Ben Gamper, who's handing out some bigger renderings of the conceptual plan. Ben is the owner and general contractor of Gamper Construction, who will be building the project. Ken Kozakowski is our architect, who also works at Gamper Construction and Architecture. The concept plan, as you see it, consists of 56 units total, 20 of which we anticipate would be memory care, and the balance, the 36 of assisted living. Now, you mentioned senior or age restricted. This is typically licensed as a CBRF and RCAC under Wisconsin law. By the way, I'm sorry,
Strictly a CDR.
I beg your pardon, I misspoke already. It's strict, the whole property would be CBRF, yearly residential facility. And so we would both have both the assisted living and the memory care under that license. Unfortunately, neither of our principals could be here this evening. This was kind of a last minute thing. Thank you, Brenda, for squeezing this in tonight. But I work on behalf of the buyer. We do have the property under contract with Grove Brothers. And in anticipation of going through all the steps we need to, the zoning really is up to your discretion, provided it fits with, you know, everything we want to try to accomplish there. One of the partners is has been in this business for over 20 years and currently owns and operates 36 of these properties throughout the state of Wisconsin. So we anticipate a successful business there. We also have conferred with a company out of Chicago called PlanCommission09.26.2024, who specializes in doing market studies for this type of use throughout the country. And the preliminary indication is that there's a good, strong demand. There's a similar project in Sussex that's about 120 units, and it's relatively new and they're already full, or effectively full. So this is a great way to not only create some tax base on this property, we'll create probably in the neighborhood of 20, the equivalent of 20 to 30 full-time jobs with our staff. And it will allow those, the aging population of Lannon to stay in the community. There are those people that either can't or don't want to stay in their home for one reason or another. This is a great alternative for them.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I wasn't looking at you.
Well,
That's where he's going.
Should have been.
I'm a candidate, hopefully not too near future, but.
Forgive me, I've got a couple notes on my phone. What would we do without smartphones? I don't know. But I think that that fills in some of the blank spots. We're available for questions. These gentlemen have, specialized in this type of product and have built these for 25 years plus, right?
Since 1900.
And would be happy to field questions and comments.
I have a couple. So obviously, we have kind of a footprint shown here. I assume this is based off of some previous experience and it's a fairly accurate representation of the footprint that you're proposing.
It's pretty much identical to the other operations that Care Partner has throughout the state.
Yeah.
And is this a single
Single
story?
story, yes, sir.
What I handed out is obviously the conceptual site plan, but the pictures are of a building that we did in Hortonville. It's a prototype that we've done 6 of them like that. And that's what it would look like inside and out. And it's I think that one's 5 point something million. They're up around 7 million now.
Yeah.
Inflation.
Yeah, but you've got pretty good understanding of square footage costs.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't like using the term cookie cutter, but they've got it down to a science as to, what works, what doesn't, what the costs are, et cetera.
And one of the nicer features this building has with this operator, they like to put their money into stuff that adds quality of life to the residents. So there's a conventional HVAC system, yet they take the perimeter and put 6 feet of in-floor heat in, so the floors are warm for the residents. There's a double corridor with a center core. So if you like to go for a walk, you aren't going to end of one hall and coming back. You can loop the whole thing with like theater space and common space in the middle.
Ben has put us in touch with the fire chief.
Yeah, Don Hoffer,
And we're examining some of the details, like the service road and some of the other things that may or may not change based on the ordinance and our current design.
Just a sprinkler building, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the anticipation is that the TIF would fund the sewer and water extension to our entrance. Actually, it will probably go beyond, if you said it would go to the north border.
Yeah, that's our ordinance.
As long, right, as long as we can tap into it. And ideally, that money is provided up front. If you deem that it's not, and that it's a reimbursement program, we're okay with that also. We may or may not ask for some additional monies. We haven't really had a chance to do our complete due diligence on examining things like blasting and some of the other site improvements that may or may not be required. But we'll address all that.
This would be slab on grade, I assume, right?
Yes.
So based on what they're talking about, the 56 unit like settings, they're not major rooms or they're rooms. That would be more the institutional zoning, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it fitting either way, really. It's probably cleaner if it's institutional, but I think.
I don't want to make it sound, like it's an institution, type thing. I just want to, clarify.
It's semantics,
yeah. I just want to make sure because I know this is something that's been talked, for some of us up here.
15 years.
Yeah, when I was a youngster.
Yeah.
And like Jerry, we might be looking at one of these places ourselves, but this has always been something that I always thought was the ideal location because it's close to the hospital.
Well, and we had at one time, we've had 5 different entities looking at this to build assisted living over the last 15 years. 2008, it almost went before the crash. And then it all died. So yeah, the hospital is a natural and this is a natural.
And to see it in the Hortonville, the way it's kind of laid out is, it is nice looking. I mean, I would say this is probably what we've been looking at.
Yes.
For that property.
Yeah.
Also.
That's great, just sign here.
I'll say a question / if I could change something. Why 56 units? It's the zoning would allow you to go for more units.
I've had this kind of conversation with the operator. It's just the perfect fit with their CNA ratio.
Yeah.
And what they do is they go into a region and they'll build 5 or 6 of these.
Okay.
So this would be the first one, and then they have, the one maintenance guy that's over the whole thing and the nursing staff and everything else.
Okay.
So, I mean, they have 2,500 employees. It's a pretty good sized operation.
I imagine the 56 is just ideal for the full
Well,
portion of it.
it's not only that, it's the distance the residents have to walk on a single story building to get to the center court, the dining areas and stuff like that.
Like I said, they've got it down to a science. They
Yeah.
really do, through trial and error over the last 20 years, but they've got the right model now.
And staffing is always a headache, but so that's I'm real familiar. We talked about cookie cutters, but I built medical clinics all around the United States. Cookie cutters work because you know your costs.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
So what would be your intent for the rest of the green space?
Just that green space.
Like
There's a
walking
feature
trails,
and amenity.
grass.
Yeah, walking paths.
After you had a question? Yes. I'm intrigued by the experience of the company or the owners. Who are they exactly? What's their name?
Care Partners.
Care Partners is the operational partner.
Based out of where?
Oshkosh.
Okay, Wisconsin,
Yes.
LLC or corporate?
It's I think they're all standalone LLCs, the operating company. Care Partners.
It's
The other,
okay.
that's it. And the other partner is a physician that's from this, he's down in this area.
Yeah, I think he's based in Mequon.
Yeah.
This will actually be his first project and we teamed him up with Care Partners intentionally, so we can add the experience of the operation as long as, you know, in conjunction with his funding. Because he's wanted to get into this business for a while, but the best entry into the business is to partner with someone who's been doing it for 20 years.
So, help me to understand, who's the owner of the property? The physician?
Both of them. It will be a partnership, they'll form a new LLC. One of, the one investor is Dr. Lanre Shitu, Shittu.
That's it.
Excuse me, it's Shitu, I pronounce it Shitu. And the other is the owner of Care Partners, which you can Google Care Partners.
No, I'm gonna be asking you to submit materials.
Right.
So we can examine a little more detail.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
we're an open book, this was just very preliminary and very.
Sure.
Fast.
Any of these operations, tax exempt,
No,
any interest in entering into a pilot agreement? So that the community does not get into a situation where there's a transfer to tax exempt entity.
I would, without speaking for them, I would think that.
Yeah, and I wonder, every community is a little different, can't you, make that part of the conditional use permit?
Well, it all depends whether we're talking about PUD conditional use permit here. So you have to make. Fundamentally, you have to make up your minds as to how you're going to structure this. What the interior, the exterior would look like. Whether you're gonna have a surface road, for example, with regards to fire protection along the outside, the back outside. I'm really thinking because I'm dealing with a similar situation, much larger complex in another community in Waukesha County. And there's no question that there is a definite market for it. Also projections as to your costs. Oftentimes this has a great deal of appeal to the community, but the question is it affordable? Particularly,
They take a much higher percentage of CMO fair management organization funding than your average. They're very efficient. They could run this place on all CMO paid residents.
I think that should be part of your submission.
Okay, sure.
To make it clear to the community that this isn't just for the people that
Right,
have significant savings.
right.
Understanding that people's who reside in CPR facilities don't go around driving a great deal,
Not a
but
bad one.
parking has to be addressed here.
Yeah,
Visitors, so forth.
And typically, there's some variance, I mean, this is not an apartment complex. And where you need 2 spaces for every unit, or, you know, typically there is some concession. The memory care component don't drive it all.
No, none of the
And the assisted living, I mean, some of them may own a car that they're attached to, you know, emotionally that they want to keep. But the amount of traffic is minimal, it's mostly the staff.
The sad thing about senior living is they don't get a lot of visitors, but witness that, you know, my father was. So you get Mother's Day and
Yeah.
Christmas,
Right.
and that's about
Birthdays.
but you know, that's one person, but when, you know, they'll come and pick them up, maybe take them someplace, but you're really looking at an 85 population. This kind of.
Yeah, that's the average age.
Got time yet?
Yeah. And how much
Yeah.
time you got?
Yeah, again, in the event that because of the proximity to the hospital, there may be an interest down the road in liquidating, this kind of operation and transforming it into some other kind of use, parking, long-term planning.
I'll tell you what the long-term plan of the operator, Care Partners, is. He plans on building these as fast as he can for the next 10 years and selling out to a major national
Yeah.
for-profit like Marriott, company or something like that. That's their plan.
Right, and I have another community that just went through that. They were gonna be there for the next 20 years. 7 years into the project, they flipped the property and sold it basically, and this is a senior care facility, not a senior residency facility. So things change. What has happened in the past doesn't necessarily control the future. It may be the intention of the operator, but at the same time, the intentions change.
Yeah, it's their business plan, and I think that's what these things really have a 20-year, maximum 30-year lifespan. Nobody wants to be the oldest facility in town. They tend to get torn down, and either a similar product that's put there.
Yeah.
People come back, the next guy comes back and says, I want to do this with the property.
Well, I've been practicing law for 53 years and I haven't seen any of these torn down. Because of location doesn't matter, but we want to look at this long term, so my bottom line is, what you're proposing, is definitely something that this community's ordinances can accommodate. The thing that you need to do is detail your submission. And give us a real inside look as to who's really going to be operating it. Because, for example, if people fall on premises, what are the policies of your operator? There are many very respectable organizations that, for example, the Lutheran home in Wauwatosa, by Frederick Hospital. Somebody falls, don't touch them. Call the fire department. And the residents there are basically saying, don't report me as having fallen. And then we get into a reimbursement cost. Our ambulance and fire services are provided by the village of Menominee Falls. And that is a challenge that this community is having, but those costs have really increased beyond any expectation that we had. So those are the kinds of things that we need to talk about and learn how you plan to operate it.
And historically, his staffing ratio is such that the calls are minimized and more control. So yes, that's a very good point though. And the
Well,
other,
I can address that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
My father, lived in one of these places until a couple of years ago, the same company, Care Partners. And, that's not their policy. I know he's fallen, and other residents have fallen, I've seen him pick them up. So, and I put him there because it was a mile and a half from my office. And I knew I was gonna be the primary person, so.
People want to continue to live near the community where they have lived, have a family, have connections, have friends.
And it's 2.5 miles from where you live, so it's perfect.
The other point you made about the future and possibly needing additional parking, as Ben mentioned, we've got a lot of green space. You know, there's an opportunity to expand the parking if the use changes and demands more parking. So I think that's kind of built in.
Yeah, I think. I'll weigh in on that. I think there's been a bit of a shift in some of the parking requirements with retail, commercial facilities like this. I think there was this huge push to create all these massive asphalt parking lots everywhere, and then now everybody's realizing, we don't need nearly that many spaces, so.
The ordinance does allow for reduced parking. And since you have other facilities that you said, Ben, I think we're like a prototype of what you would want to do here.
Yeah.
We had some information, firsthand knowledge from a sister facility, so to speak, of.
So we
This
can
parking is
incorporate that
bad,
right
yeah,
into the.
yeah, incorporate that in your materials, that would be very. Sure.
But I think we've fundamentally, I think what you're hearing hopefully is, I think we all think this is a great use, great type of project for this.
If I could start it like down here, I think conceptually, I'd like to see these people come back with more, please do come and do this. I mean, I think this is what we've been looking for. So I would say this is a good concept from my perspective. So it's up to you guys if you all feel the same.
I have a comment for the architect. In Lannon, we're quite prejudiced to stone. So when you do the facade, keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think Hector has done a good job of pointing out some of the things that hopefully you can take into consideration as you start investing more time and resources into preparing a more complete package here. I mean, it's a tough discussion sometimes up front, but it's better to get that all out on the table so you understand what the expectations are.
Yeah,
From the get-go, you get a little bit of a sense of kind of what the temperament and expectations might be here in the community. We're not hard to deal with, but there are certain things we want to see. So.
I do have one quick question. When you did Hortonville, how long did it take from Hortonville to you getting it through?
You mean from start of construction to?
I mean, when you first went to Hortonville boards.
through the whole.
I doubt it took more than, a couple of months. One of the guys in our office sat on the board or built, so it went very smoothly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're anxious to move this forward as quickly as possible. Obviously, we don't want to break ground right in the middle of winter, but we'd like to get going as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Was it the room?
No, that was just a couple floor plans that we had.
Well, and you have a potential customer or two here already.
With you, Jerry, and Mike down there?
No, I believe you.
You guys can be roommates.
No, thanks.
Well, I will also
Visit you just watch that.
I will say, I live in Overstone, the condominiums just right over in that area, and there are a lot of older folks in there, who have parents that who have parents that, they wish there was a place for them closer by. And to your point, or as you've stated, they can't seem to build them fast enough and they're full of it, so.
Yeah, the one in Sussex filled up like immediately. That was amazing.
The one we built.
Yeah,
In fact, when you built that,
We did that project.
Yeah,
We're a
that-
different client.
yeah, that thing just filled up like.
Yeah.
It was
You're talking about right across from the post office.
correct.
Yeah.
That's one of ours.
Do you have any that are low income, like use a percentage?
Well, that's what I was saying about this, care management organizations are the agencies that take the funded people and put them in, and these guys can pretty much live on the funded people. They take a much higher percentage than any of our other clients. And we have clients that won't take them,
Right.
period.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that Sussex project is a perfect example. That's much higher end, much more expensive.
Do you have
Yeah.
questions or comments, concerns that we haven't touched on that for us?
I can't think of anything.
What's your typical timeline, yes, us, how long would it take, what's your typical timeline to get through what we need to get through?
Presentation.
I think it depends on the ask.
Yeah.
You know,
presentation
do you want PUD or do you want multifamily? What kind of details are you presenting initially? What kind of asks you have for public underwriting of this through the tip fund? What kind of details do you have about the projected assessment of this complex? If you're asking, so if it falls back on you in that regard, this community desires development, long-standing development, and development that will meet the needs of the community going into the future. We have, as Mr. Newman has said in the past, we have a comprehensive plan which contemplates that we are going to be moving from somewhat of an industrial commercial community to being a residential community. And a lot of people in many, even the newer units, will, I'm convinced, will want to stay in the community. So what you're proposing is very appealing.
Well, to give you an answer on cost, the one we're building right now in Lake Hallie, same exact building just outside of Eau Claire, was $7.1 million.
Do you have a construction start date? I mean, would you begin this in the spring? You're not gonna start in the winter, are you? Or are you that anxious?
We have, I'm always the one wanting to start in the winter. But, it's, I guess, gonna depend on the timeline and, you know, how fast we can get through all the.
So I think I'll take a swing at answering your question as well. My assessment, if I'm perfectly candid, because we're a smaller community, because we rely heavily on consultants rather than an administrator, that does sometimes slow our process down because we are not their only clients. So hammering through details like development agreements and MROs for TID funding and things like that, I think probably take a little bit longer here than they might in other bigger communities that have their own administrators and things like that. I think, you know, probably, I couldn't see a project like this really getting hammered out and any quicker than 4 months anyway, really.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 months sounds quick.
Right.
Yeah.
If there was no financial ask, you know, beyond sorting out the extension of the water and sewer utilities, it would be quicker. If there is an extra financial ask there, that's more approval process, et cetera, more analysis by the builder's financial consultant. Also, the regularly scheduled meetings here are only once a month, whereas most communities are twice a month. So it's gotta be timed out. So yeah, I think 4 to 6 months seems more realistic on our end.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree.
and if for some reason you were really anxious to get moving quicker than that, for my part, we could move quicker. It would probably be some special meetings along the way.
Yeah, which we've done in the past.
Right.
Yep. I mean, if there's,
We'll coordinate that. We'll be as responsive as we possibly can.
Great.
I could also offer if anybody had any interest, a tour of one of the existing facilities. And I do want to make one correction. My father was not at, it was a different client of ours that he was at. It wasn't this one. I misspoke. Sorry about that.
good, I was gonna check that.
I knew I shouldn't have brought this guy.
But, you know, when you stop to think about it, you know, 4 or 5 months, that's a February March timeframe anyhow, I mean, unless you put in the heaters in the outhouses, I mean, in the porta potties, you know, then you're a good contractor. But if you don't put heaters in there, when I was working construction, I wouldn't wanna work that job and.
no heaters.
I assume you have a fairly templated developer agreement that you kind of work off of as you move to different communities, or do you start from scratch each time?
Those usually come from a facility, from a municipality. Typically they'll come from.
Yeah,
We can use
All right.
Yeah.
we can dig up something, but typically the municipality generates that.
We got a guy that does that.
Why don't you do this? Why don't you assemble a list of all of your properties where you have agreements? Send them to us. And identify what kind of agreements they are. I suspect in many communities, you have not received tip money. Is that correct?
To my knowledge, no.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is so, and please don't interpret any comments made here by an appointed body, let alone by someone who's not even connected, as a resident village, to be an implication that there is definitely tip money going to be available. But give us the list so we can make contacts, and we'll get back to you and ask you for sample contracts that you might have. We can work off of those.
And just to, you know, on that point, sir, you know, the biggest issue with the TIF funding is just extending the sewer and water. And that was discussed with the listing agent before we even made an offer. You know, so in anticipation of the water and sewer being brought, stubbed in to our project. That's, that's why we were willing and able to move forward on it. So that's kind of that's the biggest issue. I mentioned the other, asking for more money as kind of an aside. That's a secondary issue. And we certainly wouldn't want that to slow down the project. So, for what it's worth, that,
Yeah. The discussion with a listing agent is not a binding commitment on the part of any community.
we realize that.
Okay, and so with that, let's work together, see what we can put together.
And
This is not an adversarial situation.
Not at
This
all.
is, let's figure it out and get it done.
That's exactly the way we try to operate.
Yeah,
Right.
just for the plan commission's context, I know it's more of a village board issue, but. The Public Service Commission of Wisconsin regulates water rates. If the village were to. Hire the contractor directly to do the water and sewer extensions in the public right away. Even though the village, it's already identified in the TID project plans as a TID eligible project, and that TID revenue would be used to pay for that. Public Service Commission looks at it as if, in the most conservative way, they have to pretend like you're not gonna get any money from TID. Therefore, you have to be able to recover all of that cost through water rates. And in that way, they kind of penalize you almost. But the commonly accepted, I hesitate to call it a loophole because PSC knows about it and they actually recommend that. Is if the developer can lead and construct, pay the contractor to do the extensions and then dedicate it back to the village, then the PSC won't build that into the water rates. So it's really an arrangement that's necessitated to keep water rates affordable.
So hopefully you were taking notes during that
Yeah,
part, because that's gonna be a really important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's where, again, without saying anything to bind the board or anything like that, it had. As of a couple of years ago, it had been contemplated that if a developer led that TID could reimburse the developer for the cost of the public sewer and water extensions.
Sure.
yeah, that works for us. So,
That'll be more of a board discussion anyway, when we get into the financial aspects of it. So.
But just wanted to set the table on that, so when you hear about it in the future, that's the reason why we gotta look at an arrangement.
Anything
What's
else?
good for the village is good for us, so we'll, you know, we'll do whatever we can to,
That's the goal. Win-win is the goal.
yeah.
Anybody else have anything? Steve, you've been pretty quiet tonight. Nothing.
Sounds good to me.
We must be doing something right.
No, it's good to hear knowledgeable people who have done things before. And,
Well, that's why I brought these guys with me. So,
because we learn along the way too, so.
Okay, great.
Thank
This is a non-action item, so.
Hope the ball keeps moving.
Yeah,
Yes.
sounds like it will.
Yeah, it's another good concept.
Brenda has all my contact information. If anyone has any questions, feel free to call or email. I've got some extra cards if you want them. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find out.
Same goes for me as well. You know, I've always got this thing with the page, so.
Good deal.
Alright.
I have one item.
Yeah.
Where are we going with AFW and their plan of operation? It's been a year now.
Yeah, it has gone nowhere.
To deaf ears.
Are we, did I go to another step?
I don't know if what that step would be.
Well, in the past, we started with $100 a day. You know, you get them up to $20,000, all of a sudden they, you had to do it with 4 different people over the
I
years.
wish the board would do something.
Yeah.
When you signed up to the board a year and a half.
I mean, it sounds like the owner. Who does.
Oh, thank you.
These two gentlemen,
Okay.
and I
Thank you.
brought a handful, but not enough, unfortunately.
Nope, that's fine. Nope, it's good.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Isn't gonna. Direct anyone that works over there to come and do anything for us, which leaves all those people in the back there. On, you know, people that we can't help or. Do anything, you know. I mean, we can't even help them to do something back there in a legal way if we don't first get.
Well, you remember Bob Luck. I mean, we had him up to $13,000 before he finally had produced a plan of operation,
Well,
you know?
I'll have
Man,
a
we don't-
conversation with Hector about how to push this forward.
well, I think it needs to keep getting brought up, because we made it a big deal about everything that was going on back there. And then we decided that, you know, not to do it. But it seems like.
No.
Okay. All right,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
we have a motion in a couple seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.